Next player we're covering is Brad Chester.
Okay, if you are familiar with Art of War, you're familiar with Brad Chester. We had the honor and the privilege and the hilarious moments of meeting Brad Chester and spending the day before LVO with him and Nick Natavari. He was a really nice guy. So obviously I'm obviously gonna be a little biased here is what I'm trying to say, that I'm gonna try to give him more credit than I should. But either way, shout out to Brad.
So he's running the Beast Boss on foot.
Okay, so
Beast Boss on Squigosaur.
Beast Boss on Squigosaur. And as we've seen, guys, Captain Badrook making his appearance. We made that DACA video. Boom. We're making sense here, guys. Let's keep it going.
He's got a mech, Mazrog, a knob on Smash a Squig with Head Wappa's Kill Chopper.
All right, I really liked it. I like that combo. I know obviously it's all subjective. Some people like it on the Beast Boss. I like it on him as just a direct tool for a direct problem.
And then he's running 2 units of 10 Beast Snagga Boys, 3 trucks, and there we go. The unit of Flash Gits, 10 man.
Yeah, with the gits. Oh, Shock Jump Jackson. Did he make a shout out in our DACA video? I think I did. The Shock Jump Jackson got a shout out. Shout out for its utility. Maybe Brad was like, hey, I gave him +1 to hit to bother people. Like I said, I don't know. Right. Hopefully, but that's hilarious.
So the Gretchen, and then 2 units of 3 Squighog Boys and a 6-man.
This is actually how I've been running my Squighog Boys for the most part, guys. I like 1 big unit with the sergeant. If I don't find the points to fit 2 more 3-man units, I'll sometimes put a 1 3-man unit and then the sergeant in there. Okay, but I actually do like it. This is my more updated version of how, if I'm running Swighogs, I like them. I like 1 big unit and then a couple small units.
And then rounding out with 2 units of Storm Boys
and then 1 Warbike. I feel like that's just like a staple. Like almost every orc list I end up writing, or some competitive ones we end up seeing, I swear they always end up with like 2 Storm Boys and a Warbiker. And a part of me thinks, I know when I write my list, sometimes it's like I have 10 points left over. Let me just upgrade these Storm Boys. I know I'm not the only one. But that just seems like it always happens, right? Because I think, 2 Storm Boy units is excellent. I end up not taking 3. I know I have some disputes in there with some of my Discord homies and gets. Shout out to Big Mac Brandon. But yeah, I like running 2 Storm Boy units and then 1 more biker. So actually, me and Brad are very close into what I like about this. This is the kind of list I would kind of run. I don't know about the Shotgun Dragster. I give him a shout out, but he doesn't make it on my list. Just saying, usually, right? You bring him for his I think Brad really did bring him to bother people and be like, I might precision you. He's kind of that kind of guy. So yeah, the Flash Gits, like we've been talking about, guys, when we put the DACA video, we've actually seen, if you go back even to Meta Wednesdays, we were talking about how this is slowly creeping in. I remember one guy kind of put it on, then we started doing the math behind it. We started kind of thinking on the table into certain matchups.
Getting some games in too, and just realizing how the 10th edition is different from 9th. Fighting isn't the sole way to win games.
You need to kind of incorporate that shooting, guys, to just deal with what everybody's trying to do and what they're willing to do. So yeah, I like it. And that 1 turn of throttling and shooting and then punching really matters. Kind of makes it for our fact that we can't punch as hard as we want, and all these weird fight first abilities and stuff like that the orcs don't really love. So let's look at some of his matchups real quick before we say pop.
All right, round 1, he faced off against Necron.
Catan spam right away. Brad dealing with this. That's excellent. Okay, this guy's
got the Deceiver, the Nightbringer.
This guy was not trying to make friends this day. And on this day, all the Catan shards broke loose.
Got the Hexmark Destroyer, which can be almost as annoying as a Catan. It's not as Doomstalker, Reanimator, Crypto Thralls, 2 units of Deathmark, 2 Doomsday Arcs, a unit of Heavy Destroyer, 2 unit single man Heavy Destroyers, and surprisingly no Warriors.
I mean, no Lich Guard. Did he put no Lich Guard? No Lich Guard. Yeah, no. This guy did not care about what the meta was. He was going, like, guys, what we said, for a team list. We already know, like we talk about in Discord, people are like, I'll go for a skew. I don't care. What is this? Right? I mean, wow. But if you look at Brad's list, guys, that is very atypical of a orc singles, right? Keep in mind what Brad's list was, right? 3 units, Squighog Boys, Flash Gits, Captain Badrugs, 3 trucks, some boys, some Mazrog, and a Beast Boss on Squigosaur, and a Beast Boss. That's like what everybody's bringing in when you're playing orcs is like a bare minimum almost, if you're not playing into like some sort of direct archetype. This is just like a straight up what people are bringing a lot of these data sheets. This is not like a hard skew. Brad didn't go into a hard skew, but how did he perform against his Necron skew? Looks like he 20-0'd it.
20-0, yeah.
Okay, then that's why, guys, right? Orcs, like I was giving an example of when I was talking overall with my friends in Discord and my cousin Christian, is do we really always want in orcs and singles? I'd say go ahead and go for a skew. When for a team setup, as for when I'm thinking I'm the orc player going to a team, I can ideally face up into a lot of kind of A tier armies, regardless if it's this edition, last edition, where I can give you a hard time with your points or possibly beat you if you skew too hard in any direction by doing what orcs do best, which is playing the primary, the secondary, board control, right? Doesn't ever since I've been starting, which has only been 8th edition, since 8th edition, that's how orcs play. Even in the silly, I just want to kill you 8th edition meta that there was kind of for a little bit, if you could still take over the board and do stuff, you could still win like that. And that's how orcs, that's how GW perceives us, right? And that's how we must go forward in this game. And that's why what the archetype is as a whole is looking very similar between teams and singles for some of the top performing orc team players, right?
Right. And that's a strength. I'm a little surprised we didn't see more orc players, but then again, with how the meta is, yeah, everyone's spamming the S tier armies if they have them.
And I think like we've seen a lot with Grey Knights, they almost perform like a similar role where it's like they're not going to directly beat up a meta army, but you're going to kind of bother them. So let's see what else he kind of went into, right?
In the second round, he faced the Thousand Suns. There's your typical list with Armin, Magnus, a few sorcerers, sorcerer and Terminator armor, 2, 3 10-man flamer rubrics, the Mutilate Vortex Beast for some out of line of sight smites, 10-man Terminator unit, and then a lot of people are bringing the flamers for some utility.
Make sure you zoom in too, so that they can, because I can't see on your thing. Sorry. All right, cool.
And the changeling.
And what does Chainley do? My bad. I'm not really sure. Just more shooting? You're not top behind? Oh, okay. Too much? So. This looks like a very typical. How many Terminators did he bring? Sorry.
110-man.
Yeah, this is like, is this just a standard T-Suns list right now? Yeah. Seems like as they're getting figured out, Orcs players are kind of figuring them out too. As you've seen in the math, we've been going better. I mean, the 40K stats we went over. Oh, and they brought the Vortex Beast.
Yeah, that's also a staple too.
It's a hard game for Orcs typically, guys, right? It can go either way. But I think as Orc players are learning more and more what these T-Suns are doing, since they don't really have a lot of variability in what they're doing, and of course mission always matters, right? Mission terrain always matters, but we have pretty good play into T-Suns, I would think, relative to how strong they are against everybody else, right? We actually do quite well, which ended up showing because Brad ended up winning this game 19
points. Yep.
Solid, great win by Brad, guys. So as you see, this is that list that he showed could be ran in singles. I would say that would fall under a Beast Naga archetype, and he did great. So more of the updated Beast Naga archetype as it has shooting, which is what we've seen in more of the updated Beast Naga list. They do involve some shooting compared to just spamming out as much punchy as you can.
All right, and round 3, Death Watch.
Death Watch. Okay, let's
running
see.
The Primaris
this
captain
was kind of one of the lists that people brought as a maybe I do good into S tier armies.
Yes.
All right. So this is interesting because orcs are kind of running along the same line there, right? With the Grey Knights, the Death Watch, those all armies are brought like, hey, I might not be the most meta or the most competitive, but I can really crash into some of these top S tier armies and probably beat them up. And it looks like orcs came out on top on them.
We got your Desolation Squad, staple on all Space Marine lists. 3 units of 3 Eradicators.
Very little
3
range.
units of Infiltrators.
Okay.
2 Protoss kill teams.
I mean,
kitted out the same.
I'm not seeing anything scary.
With 5 veterans, a biker, a Terminator, 3 Terminators, 4 Terminators. Then Stern Guard veteran squad and a Calidus assassin.
Yeah. Okay. So that was he went for the Death Watch meta. I'm not going to pretend I know super exquisitely anymore what they do anymore that the Proteus kill teams. As you can see, what their unit type typically is kind of like what the support kind of role that unit's trying to go for. As you see, they're expensive big bricks, and as Brad already did it to the Catan list, being expensive and not having a bunch of units doesn't necessarily help you win against orcs, because we still do retain enough punches and punching capability to kill certain units or at least and win skirmishes, right? We can directly kill their most hard-hitting kind of brick units, or we can chip them down, which is why people would want flash kits or something like that. And then everything else, we win all the skirmishes, right? These 5-man units of Marines or anything like that. Orcs are like, whatever, I punch you around. Don't let me get towards those desolations, right? So what are you going to use them? You only got those 10 guys and I got a bunch of trucks, you know? So, and a bunch of characters. Because for the most part, those beast characters are like, I need your anti. And if you're bringing the Eradicators, right? The player is hoping he rolls good enough. And it's just not great numbers into our beast boss characters on mounts. So yeah, Brad just kind of took over the board, I'm assuming, and stat checked this guy and ran him over at some, won the skirmishes.
Solid win.
Probably played just KG enough to not get countercharged by those Proteus kill teams because they do contain a lot of Terminators and OC.
All right, round 4. Oh, same. All right. We're on round 5.
Round 5.
Thousand Suns again.
Again. So as you can see, this is kind of what I could see. This is what their team kind of wanted them to pick. They go, hey, I bet you could beat the T-Suns, and they were probably putting Brad directly into them. The T-Sun player not knowing showing how orcs can actually do so well into them.
Yeah.
Was taking this one probably with a little bit of confidence and ended up getting. Brad's still a good player too. Remember, he's an excellent player when it comes to movement, and to be a great orc player, you have to be controlling your rate of attrition with revolves around movement. Looks like
and
is this like the same exact list?
Almost. There's just a few.
Okay,
slight
my bad. I was like,
variations,
wait, is this
the
okay? No
utility picks a
flamers.
little different.
Okay,
Screening units.
Maybe a little worse. No, I mean,
Yeah, I'd say worse.
no offense, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to play with what you got.
He did slightly better on points, but he took a L2 to Brad. Yeah, this is the whole point of the teams, right, guys? We can just move on right away to what is last matchup?
Final round.
Quentin Johnson.
Quentin Johnson
Whoa.
from Art of War. So Brad Chester's team made it all the way to the top table in the last round.
Let's go. And Quentin Johnson was playing Eldari.
Yes, he did. Eldari.
There he is, the Eldari. When it comes to casual play, orcs still do pretty decent into Eldar, but when it comes to the top meta tables, Eldar is still kind of bullying around everybody. So no shame on Brad. Just give it a quick look through. The Young Karn is something new that's been coming up into the Eldar's list as well. Being able to put pressure where they've killed you, it's kind of like, oh my god, right? Stacking. So really,
with the nerf to the Wraith Knights, you got some more points to be spending on Young Karn.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened, right? Well, Wraith Knights, maybe. Let's see, did he bring one still at least or none?
Usually there's at least
more Walkers,
Vipers.
Okay, yeah. So now there's one, like you said. Usually people drop the second. Yeah. So drop that one. Drop the Neon Karn. You Karn teleports over there where someone might have killed something to have a kind of pressure between the pressure of the Young Karn, the board control with the speed, at least the ability to maneuver the board with the speed of the more quick, small skirmishing units of the Eldar. It could just be annoying because then they're kind of picking engagements to a certain extent, and orcs hate that. Like we'd like to talk about a lot of times as an orc player, you want to pick the engagements when you can initiate, control the rate, and then dictate, right? And that's how orcs really, really got to play. And Eldar like that kind of mess you up. They'll shoot you hard enough. That big knight's going to take over the table and be annoying, trying to deal with him and not gun line. And then all of a sudden they chip you and then she teleports over there. I can see how he ended up dropping that. It's okay.
Yeah, it was still a close game.
Yeah, he still did great.
2 points and he could have won it.
And that just shows how good orcs can be, even with running that kind of list. I mean, guys, come on. We've seen lists very similar to what Brad showed us. Show us this one more time. What Brad put on this list is very typical to what people are kind of running, right? Move it again, right?
Yep.
There we go. Yeah. And even when we talked out in our DACA video, guys, the mech to give them the +1 in the vehicle, most likely, because like I said, shoot, get your points utility out of them while they're in the vehicle. Then you throttle when they get out, get the rerolls, pop the ammo grunt, boom. You're getting the direct points return and trade on them at that point, right? And dude, guys, the flash kits are knobs. If people forget, strength 5, 4 base attacks, -1 AP. Captain Badrock with the 6-inch aura, -1 toughness. Come on. I mean, I'm a fan of the Nob scalpel unit, but I can see why this unit is slowly creeping up to being a little bit more prevalent.